Hello, once again, everybody. Welcome to today's session. So today we have Mary, who is your mentor, who took you through the session of GRC. Who took you through the session of GRC? Sorry about the echo. So she'll be here. She's going to give a little bit of an short summary of what she taught, and then after that, we're going to kick off with the Q&A. So ask as much question as you have. This is your time, and this is your only interaction that you're going to have with her. So feel free to ask any question that you got. So Mary, welcome, and happy to have you on this live session with the mentees. Cheers.
Okay, hi Karim and hi everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. So I'm sorry there's a bit of background noise where I am. But I hope and I hope to believe everyone watched the introduction to GRC video. So I'll just get straight into it, just summarizing what I talked about in the video. And if you may have had any questions from the video, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll be responding to them as I go. Karim, you can help me look at the questions on the chat box and then maybe you can alert me and then I'll answer them on the go so that they don't pile up at the end of the session.
Awesome. So I'll just jot them down. So once you're done, I'll just list them so that you can be able to answer them. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
So while we're waiting for Mary, if you have any question relating to, let's say, the bootcamp itself, any burning question, because during the whole week, a lot of people had different questions like how do you, for example, create an account at simulations, etc. So if you have such type of questions, please feel free to ask while you're waiting for Mary to continue with her session. So just unmute yourself, ask your question, and then we can proceed from there. So yeah, this is also your chance to do it.
Excuse me, Mr. Karim.
Yes, Caleb.
I have a question about cybersecurity.
Yeah, feel free.
As I was looking at GRC,
Yeah,
I saw one of the measures is information security.
yeah.
So the question is, what's the difference between a cybersecurity engineer and information security officer? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So okay, so let me just put it in a simple term as much as I can. So basically, is when you just talk about generally cybersecurity, you deal with protecting not only the systems but also the physical aspect of your assets. So that would be your server, your company perimeter, etc. So cybersecurity will cover all that. But when you come to generally information security just deals with how do you protect your data from either espionage or unauthorized access and things like that. So how I like to look at it is information security is generally a subset of cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is more general compared to information security. Information security just strictly deals with mainly protecting your data, and mostly that's it. But when you talk about cybersecurity in general, it goes beyond that. So as I said, dealing with protecting your physical perimeters, protecting devices, so that would be your routers, your servers, etc. And then it goes also to the application, it goes to the network, etc. So generally, that's the difference among the two in simple terms. Anybody else?
Okay,
Oh,
hi Karim.
okay, you're back. Perfect.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Apologies about that. My microphone was bringing issues, but I hope you can hear me well.
loud and clear.
Okay, okay. So I'll just go straight into the presentation. I hope
Awesome.
everyone had the time to go through the presentation, and I really try to make it very beginner friendly by trying to explain the concepts of what GRC is, and I hope from the presentation you have been able to understand what GRC is. But for now, I'll just give sorry, I'll just give the learning objectives of what I hope you have achieved from the videos, and that is understand what GRC is and why it matters, and then explore the individual concepts of GRC, that is the governance aspect, the risk management aspect, and the compliance aspect, and also to learn how these elements working together to bring in the GRC aspect together. So I'll start by defining what GRC is, and it's an acronym for or abbreviation for governance, risk, and compliance. And it's not just an acronym. I like to look at GRC as a very strategic aspect of IT, because if you're in GRC, you get to look at and to give direction to the organization. That is the governance aspect. And then the risk management aspect keeps us aware of the threats. And then in the compliance aspect, to ensure like we are following laws and policies, and together they help an organization to succeed. In my presentation, I likened GRC to the traffic rules and the traffic lights. They help to bring order to our roads, and that is what GRC does, because you know when to stop, you know when to start, you know what this sign means. Basically, that is what GRC does, and from a layman's perspective. So I look at the next thing that I look at is the business case for GRC. So I talked about the importance of GRC in an organization, and I don't know if someone can put in some of those things on the chat. I'll really appreciate it, just to see if you went through the presentation. Anyone? Some of the reasons why we are talking about GRC and why it is important. Feel
I
free
think,
to put it in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and talk to us.
okay, so I've seen some responses that have come in. One
Mhm.
said Informed decision making reduces impact of risk. Michelle says ensure regulatory compliance. Thapelo, sorry if I've butchered your name. Okay, so this is a different question at the end. Pauline said help in decision making. Solve says helps avoid fines and legal actions. Vivian said regulatory compliance. So those were some of the answers.
Okay, thank
And
you. Thank you for
yeah,
that.
and
Thank you
then
for that.
there's
I can.
reputation protection once again from Vivian. Gospel says promote operation efficiency. Ruth says company reputation. So I guess yeah, we can proceed from there. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for your responses. So I'll go into what drives GRC implementation. And for this one, we have internet connectivity that introduces cyber risks in our organizations, and also the need for business to comply with the new and updated regulatory requirements. We have the new Data Protection Act that we have in our different countries. And then we have the risk landscape is changing every day. So we need to, there's a lot of uncertainty, and we need to be ready and be proactive rather than be reactive. And also risk management costs are increasing as days go by. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was just GRC roles or jobs. And we have different roles that relate to GRC. We have the governance and oversight roles. Those are the roles for the board member, that is the senior management. SMT, we have the SMT. We have the strategy and performance, that is where the CEO falls in, and also the senior management. We have risk and decision making, that is where the risk people fall in. Those are the risk manager, risk analyst, risk consultant, that's where you fall in. We also have compliance and ethics, where the compliance manager falls in, security and continuity, where information security officers fall in, and also audit and assurance. So I like to say to put audit and assurance under GRC, but I also like to put it as a separate entity, because audit and assurance is supposed to be operating independently, and now audit the roles for the GRC processes. And also GRC responsibility and accountability is shared. It is not a one-man show, and it is not like just the senior management people who are doing the GRC aspect. And it cascades down from the top tier, that is from the leadership all the way to you as a maybe a GRC analyst, a GRC consultant, and also as an information security analyst. So those are the few job roles for GRC. So any questions up until there? I don't know whether there is any question on the chat.
Yeah, there are. So
Okay.
Eslin asked, what does it mean to be ISO certified?
Okay.
And also the
Okay.
second part of it is what are the requirements for an organization to be ISO certified?
Okay. Okay, thank you for that question. So I'll answer that. So ISO is a voluntary standard that an organization decides to use. And in this case, we have different kinds of ISO. We have ISO, the most common one in information security is ISO 27001. That is the information security management, information security management system. And this provides a systematic approach to information security. And it has different controls. We have, with the latest one being the 2022 one, has 93 controls, and it has 4 themes. That is the organizational, the people aspect, the physical aspect, and the technological aspect. So what does it take for you to be certified as an ISO organization? So you have to do an audit. There's an audit called an ISO certification audit that is done by ISO itself. So you go under the audit, you ensure like all those things that are in the ISO you are compliant to them. So that is what it takes to be ISO certified. I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, you have. And one of the requirements to be ISO certified is to do vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So you can see how without GRC, roles like pen testing, red teaming, and all that wouldn't be there in real sense. So that shows the importance of GRC. So the next question is from Thapelo. He actually has two questions, which are very long, but one of his question is, how would you design a scalable organization-wide GRC framework that aligns with the ISO 2701 NIST and also ensuring real-time risk visibility while minimizing compliance fatigue across multiple businesses? Yeah, so that's the question. I know it's a lot, but yeah.
Sorry, Karim, I didn't get the question well.
So the question is,
Uh-huh.
how will you design a scalable organization-wide GRC framework that
Okay.
aligns with both ISO 27100 and NIST, ensuring real-time risk visibility while minimizing compliance fatigue across multiple businesses? So that's from Tapelo, sorry.
Okay. Okay. So
I know it's a handful of questions within one.
so it's a very heavy question, that one, but I'll try and answer it as
Yeah.
simply as I can. First of all, designing a scalable a scalable GRC framework that aligns with both ISO and NIST. Yeah, that's a very heavy question, but this is what I would say. It's first of all is to map and align your organizational policies to both ISO and the NIST framework, and then the other thing is to once you have done the policy harmonization, is to centralize standard. Sorry, is to centralize standard and also centralize the teams, framework, tools, and policies. That is to avoid operating in silos. And then the other thing is to implement risk, like have a risk-based model to implementing this framework. And then the last thing is to implement real-time risk visibility, like ensuring like you have tools that are monitoring the implementation of the framework in real time. And this is where you integrate tools such as the theme, vulnerability scanners, and also this dashboard that will provide the live implementation of the framework. I hope I've answered your question at a very high level.
I hope so. Perfect. So the next question, once again, is from Tapelo. A very handful of questions, but he's asking, how can an enterprise effectively quantify and prioritize cyber risk in financial terms to influencing strategy decision making while maintaining compliance with evolving regulatory requirements like GDPR, SOX, or HIPAA? Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
So first of all,
It's a
first of
lot.
all, I would like to know like why did the guy ask about socks, HIPAA, like what is his area, like where is he located? Because in Africa, we usually don't implement this SOX and the HIPAA. So I would like to know like what was the thought process behind the question.
Okay, so I guess we'll give him the opportunity to explain himself at the end.
Yeah.
Um, while we're aligning with others. So the other question is from Msambili. I hope I haven't butchered his name, but he's asking what are important metrics to report on the board to demonstrate GRC's effectiveness. Since many businesses they are not aware about GRC, what are key metrics to explain to them? So basically, he's just asking about metrics and what uh, indicators will you use to report to the board or to the
Okay.
management. Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, when you're going to the board, you are going to them, and they're not. Most of them are not GRC experts. So you need a very clear and outcome-focused metrics. Like them, they are all about the numbers. So, and the first thing that I would go to them with as a GRC analyst would be the policy adoption rates. That is the the percentage of policies that we have adopted and have acknowledged, and they are being implemented in the different units. And then the other one would be the risk metrics. That is show them the top five or the top 10 risk metrics for us as an organization, and also others that are affecting businesses that are operate within the same jurisdiction and also the same operations. And then the other one would be the open versus remediated risk ratio. When you do a risk assessment, you have these risks that you identify. So from the risk assessment, you show them the risk. These are the risks identified. These are the ones we've been able to remediate, and these are the ones that are remaining. So show that what is it called? Have that risk versus remediated risk ratio that you're showing them. The other thing would be on the compliance aspect would be the compliance metrics. That is the number of business units that are covered by the regulatory frameworks that you have adopted in the organization, and also the percentage of the effectiveness of the compliance, and also of the policies that we have implemented as an organization. And lastly would be on the audit findings. Those are the recurring issues, closed issues, such things. So also integrate the audit findings into your GRC reporting metrics. I hope I have answered that.
Yes, I'm assuming you have. So
Okay.
Pauline has another question. So our question is, how do you align governance practices with industry-based standards and regulations? So that's one. So she has three questions. So let's just start one by one, and then
He has three.
yeah. So the first one is, how do you align governance practices with industry best practices and regulations? Yeah.
Okay. So so I hope the background noise is not too loud.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Okay, apologies about that. So how I would approach that would be, already you have this framework that you have already decided. This is what we are using, and it will act as a baseline. So maybe you have decided to do with ISO, or maybe you have built an internal governance framework. So the first one would be regulatory. Sorry?
Hello.
Hello? Hi?
It's Manos.
Sorry?
I don't know.
Isaac,
Yes.
Isaac, your mic is
Hello.
not good.
Hi?
I have been in Google Meet Zoom. Someone said,
Isaac, just a minute. Sorry, your microphone seems is not okay, so we can't hear you properly. So that's one.
Okay.
Two, can you please let Mary finish her explanations and then you can hop in with your question or just type your question on the chat so that we don't interrupt the session. Thank you. Yeah, Mary, you may proceed.
Okay. So I okay. I think I lost my trail of thought there. But can I give a suggestion on something? So there's someone on the chat who has said, I don't even understand what you guys are asking. So I would like to have just go over the whole presentation first, and then people can ask in the question, because I see some of the terms that I'm talking about, some of the people don't have an understanding of what the concepts are. And this being a beginner to intermediary class, I would not want to leave anyone behind. I don't know whether that's okay with you, Karim.
So you want them to go back to the video? Sorry, kind of lost with your
No, no,
question.
no. I'm saying
Yeah,
I would like to first finish explaining some of the basic concepts on what I had,
yeah, sure.
and then people can asking the question, because I see like I'm losing some of the people because of the technical terms that maybe someone is asking about.
Yeah, sure thing. It's
Yeah,
your session,
yeah,
so take it the way you want it to go.
yeah, yeah, so that I don't leave anyone behind.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, okay. So so I had talked about what governance is. That is the setting the rules of the game. And governance involves setting the direction, establishing policies and standards, assigning roles and responsibilities. So the other aspect was on risk management. And under risk management, we have risk assessment, which is the first process of risk management, where you define the likelihood, um, the the threat source of risk is a function of the likelihood of a given threat source to exploit a particular vulnerability. So we have different risk assessment methodologies. And the one that I most likely refer to people to is the NIST risk management framework. You can check that out. It gives the input, the risk assessment activity, and the expected output. It's a very comprehensive risk assessment methodology. And then lastly, on risk, we have the risk mitigation. That is the um, elimination of risk. Of all risk is impractical or close to impossible. So we adapt these risk mitigation options, such as risk acceptance, risk avoidance, risk limitation, and also risk transference. So the other thing is compliance, and that is the level of adherence of an organization to the standards, laws, and the best practices. And why compliance is important is to avoid penalties such as the fines given by the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, build trust, reduce risks, and also support growth. So we have different regulations, standards, and also internal policies. So we have regulations; those are laws enforced by the government, such as the data protection. We have anti-money laundering. We have CBK guidelines for banks and SACCOs. We have standards that those are the voluntary frameworks, such as the ISO 27001 for information security. We have the NIST, we have the CIS controls, we have the ITIL, those are voluntary frameworks. And also we have internal policies. Those are company-specific rules, such as the employee conduct or data handling guidelines that are company-specific. So in a compliance program, it typically includes policies, procedures. We have training, that is education of employees on compliance requirements, monitoring and auditing, reporting, and also corrective actions. So, and also we cannot talk about GRC without talking about emerging technology, that is AI. And there are different applications of AI in GRC, such as policy management and risk detection. We also have blockchain and also data analytics, which is very, very important in GRC, because you're not just managing risks, you are being guided by some information, and that is where the data comes in. So some of the tips that I would like to give you guys as you're venturing or you are coming into GRC is to leverage free resources. We have so many free resources. If you just search free GRC tools or free GRC resources online, we'll be able to see that. And then start with one framework and focus on a single compliance framework to avoid feeling overwhelmed. I can see someone is asking about SOX, GDPR, HIPAA. Focus on a very simple framework and build your knowledge on that so that you don't feel overwhelmed on your growth journey. And then learn the basic skills which will help you as you grow, and also join communities. We have the H4K. In Kenya, we have Isaka, we have She-Hacks, we have so many communities that you can join. And from there, you'll get a mentor, you'll get resources and such. So that was my brief presentation. Karim, over to you. So now I can answer the questions, and I'll take a maximum of, let's say, 5 questions. No, 3 questions, kindly.
There is a lot of questions. I don't think 3 will be enough, but yeah. So Pauline has already 4 questions. I don't know even how we want to take this, but okay, let me ask the
Okay.
questions from Edwin.
Okay.
So Edwin's
Okay, Karim.
question, yeah.
I think I can do this for the questions that have been asked on the chat.
Yeah.
You can add me to the WhatsApp group or Telegram group,
Yeah.
and then I can answer those questions there in detail.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So
Yeah,
let's
and
just
then they
pick
will
some
be
few and
beneficial
then
to everyone.
okay, so let's
Yeah.
just pick few. So one of the question is, what are the biggest challenges in implementing GRC? I think, yeah.
Okay. The biggest challenge that I have encountered personally in terms of implementing GRC, the first one is the GRC tools are really expensive. And for you to go to the board or to the management to tell them to get your GRC tool, that's where the task is. So first of all, the tool is expensive, and also getting the buy-in from the top management to invest in these GRC processes. That is why, for me personally, I would say like I am so good at open source GRC tools, and I really leverage on them to help me to manage my GRC processes. So that is the first challenge. The second challenge, so the tools are really expensive. Getting the buy-in from the top leadership, and also there's a skills gap in terms of GRC. Most of the people confuse GRC with audit, and those are two very different and distinct branches of information security. So there's a skill gap in terms of GRC, and uh, just an example. There's a time we were hiring for GRC, and when someone comes in, when you ask them the interview questions, there's that. Thank you for introducing this aspects of GRC. Let me call it the aspect of GRC in this community of the H4K community. Yeah, so those are the 3 things.
Okay. There are 3 great questions I'd like you to answer. Then I think we can wrap up from here because the
Okay.
questions are a lot, and then I'll collect the others, send it to you. You'll answer them, and then I'll send the response back to the WhatsApp group.
Yes.
So the first question is from Kevin. He's asking, can a company adopt one framework at a go, or can combine several frameworks like NIST, ISO 27400, etc.?
Okay. So for the frameworks, first of all, I would say it depends. The framework that you adopt depends on the size of the organization, because implementing a framework can be really costly. And especially, let me give a practical example for ISO. ISO has 93 clauses that you have to be fully compliant to and conformant to for you to implement it and to be given the ISO certification as an ISO compliant firm. So depending on the size of your organization, go for a very simple and easy to implement framework. And for this one, I normally recommend CS Controls version 8. It's a very easy framework to implement as an organization. And then from there, you will continue building on top of the framework all the way to the ISO, yani the ones that are really difficult and are resource intensive to implement. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, perfect. I think I should just add a little bit. So also apart from that, I think it's also important to understand your company's objectives, what they do, and then once you have a 360 understanding of the organization's objective, then you can implement strategic GRC solutions that align with your organization's context, because each company is unique. So you need to align with your organization's objective. So another question is from, is it Mohammed? Mohammed, sorry if I butchered your name. His question is, uh, he'd like to hear more on how do you handle conflicts between compliance requirements and business objectives on a board level rather. Was that clear, Mary? Hello?
Hi, Karim. Hi, Karim. Sorry, I was
No
taking,
worries.
I was taking a water break.
Okay, so
Yeah, yeah,
the question is, how do you handle conflicts between compliance requirements and business
yeah.
objective on a board level?
Okay, okay. So, the way that I've told you, the board is all about numbers, and if something does not make sense to them in numbers, they usually really dismiss it a lot. So, and in terms of handling conflicts between compliance requirements and business objectives, so this requires a lot of, let me call it negotiation skills, negotiation skills, but also you have to bring in to show the compliance need, because you have to show the compliance need while also looking at the business objectives and balance the risk between compliance and the business objectives, because sometimes the board might not see the need for implementing a certain tool or implementing a certain policy, but it's really it's compliance wise, it's an important thing to implement. So you show the risks of not implementing implementing the said compliance clause, and you'll do this by conducting a risk impact analysis, and then you show this, you show this, like, this is the risk, this is the impact if you do not do this. And then the other thing would be where there's strict controls, like you need to have like proposed compensating controls that are how do I put this? Compensating controls to achieve the same with less resources, or with less with less resources. So have compensating controls, conduct a risk-based impact analysis, show the risk to the board, and also the other thing would be to, how do I say this? Let the decision be on their side. Let the senior management make the decision based on the risk appetite of the organization. So those are the three things that I would say how you can be able to balance that conflict between the board and compliance.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Mary. So let's just answer the last
Okay.
question while I'm trying my level best to copy the other questions so that you'll be able to answer them once you're a little bit free, because
Yeah.
I hijacked you,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately. But before we go to the last question, what I can tell the mentees is that number one, you need to understand that business people don't understand a lot about cybersecurity. So the only thing that these guys understand is finance, reputation, client and investors loss, law requirement, and regulatory. So if you don't provide your explanations within those confinements, then whatever you'll be asking for to the board will most likely be rejected, because all they care about is money. How are they earning more money? How are they saving money? So whatever your explanations rather is going to be, it needs to revolve around finances majority of the time. So that's why Mary mentioned about making sure your matrices are as clear as possible and concise. So yeah. So Mary, the next question is from Wahoo. Our question is, in the context of risk assessment activities, will it make more sense to identify vulnerabilities before identifying threats? My reason is that, sorry, my reasoning is that understanding the system vulnerabilities first provide a clear picture of the attack surface, which can help in recognizing which threats are most relevant based on how they might exploit those weaknesses. So that's Wahoo's question. So while we are waiting for Mary, let me just answer that question in just as simple as possible. So basically, when you get to different part of cybersecurity, there is a segment called threat modeling. So threat modeling there's modeling from an attacker's perspective, and there's a threat modeling in a business perspective. So from a business perspective, is basically you're trying to number one, identify the resources that you have. You cannot protect what you don't know what you have. It doesn't make sense. So the first step will be number one, identify what assets you have in place, and then after that, you go and now try to identify what threats and vulnerabilities are associated to those assets. So I think the first step will be threat modeling before even going to vulnerability assessment and identifying the threats itself. So once you're done with that, the other activities might follow. So sorry for jumping in, Mary. You may try to answer
Okay.
that question. My bad.
Okay, thank you, Karim. And thank you for that response. So I totally get where I didn't get her name, but I totally get where it's coming from a technical perspective. But most of the time, we are not operating in a vulnerability driven environment. We're operating in a risk based environment. So we operate in a risk-based environment. So and most in most framework, you will find you identify your asset the way Karim has said, and their value. And then the next thing is you identify the threats to those assets. And then now you identify the vulnerabilities those threats could exploit. And lastly, now assess the likelihood and impact. So and also threats determine the relevance. You can have a threat, but if it's not exploitable, there's no relevance in it, or there's no relevance in term there's no relevance in the threat if it's not exploitable in your current environment. And then also the last thing is, from the fact that we operate from a risk-based environment perspective, a risk is categorized as threat, vulnerability, and impact. And without the threat, a vulnerability alone does not constitute a risk. So I totally get where she's coming from, but operate from the knowledge of we operate in a risk-based environment and not a threat-based or a vulnerability-based environment.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if you'll be willing to take one last more from Jen because she's raising her hand from here. I don't know. It's up to you. Or if you're busy, then I don't know. We'll take her questions and later post it to you on your inbox to respond. For Jen, you can, was it Jane? Yeah. You can just unmute your mic and ask your question quickly before Mary leaves.
Um, um, I was I was begging to differ on
Okay.
something.
Okay, yeah, sure thing. Feel free.
Okay. On two things maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
okay, on the first one was the first question before the session, before Mary came in, the information security and cyber security.
Awesome. Yeah, feel free.
So, in my understanding,
Yeah.
I was made to understand that cybersecurity is more of securing information on your cyberspace, and
Okay.
information security is basically protecting your information, whether it's like in the manual way, locking your office or locking your files or having specific people accessing a certain room in an office, and also
Okay.
the cyberspace. So in that sense,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm thinking in that dimension, I'm
Yeah.
feeling like cybersecurity is a bit restricted in the sense that it just protects information that is digital. But for information, we can go both ways, which is digital and information which is not digital.
Okay. So, well, everybody has a different perspective. I respect that. But based on my experience that I've been in the industry, because, for example, you'll find people doing physical pen tests, right? So that means there are people who will test for things like how are your security. So the security guards, are they aware that there are some people who are allowed to get into the organization and not allowed to get in, right? They'll look at things like how are they able to access information without even interacting with your system. So that will be dumpster diving, trying to get maybe what's the word, thrown away ID cards, etc. So that's why initially, for me, in my perspective, I said in an IS is a subset of cybersecurity, because cybersecurity goes beyond from just covering the system itself. Because it also looks at how can you protect your server from unauthorized access in a physical realm, right? Not only data, but also, I mean, not only servers, but also, what do they call it? Restricted areas. Are people able to gain access to that? How do people do it? So you'll find people like, what's this lady's name? Shannon, I think it's Shannon something. She does the same thing with the help of social engineering, right? So it's a whole nessus of activities when it comes to cybersecurity and what activities that they do. So that's just generally my perspective in those two. But yeah, I respect your angle of approach. Yeah. So what was your second input?
Second input was
Yeah.
the it's a bit of, I don't know. Okay, let me just say it. When we are talking of risk management, I know it's different from GRC, but
Yeah.
when we are like thinking of, it's because GRC we're operating with there must be a risk for, you
Yeah. Yeah.
see. Now when we are looking at GRC, risk management, um, you are supposed to first like identify, you are unable to first, you first uh, assume or perceive a threat or a vulnerability, possible threats. Like, for instance, if I say a door, there's a risk of someone breaking a doorknob, there's a risk of someone copying a key and opening it. Like, you perceive a weakness, a weakness. And then
Jen.
the threat is like maybe a thief now coming in and trying that, or
Yeah.
an imposter. And
Jen,
then,
sorry, one moment. Sorry, I am really, really sorry about this. So Mary is in a hurry. So can she just say her goodbyes and then she leaves? Sorry, I'm really sorry I've interrupted you.
it's
And then
okay.
you'll move forward. So Mary, if you're still here, if you haven't left, you can just give your closing remarks and then yeah, you may kick it off.
Okay, hi Karim. I'm still here. So thank you for having me. You'll send me the questions that everyone had on the chat, and I'll respond to all of them.
Awesome.
And I don't know whether there'll be another session for Jersey, or this is the last one.
Yeah. It's the last one because there are other different sessions that they have
Okay.
to attend. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. So thank you so much, and I hope you have learned something. And as I've said, GRC is also like cybersecurity, like it's majorly cybersecurity, but keep on learning, stay curious, and like just keep on learning. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah. So, Jen, yeah, I'm once again, I am so sorry. So you may proceed with what you're explaining. Yeah. And anybody else can feel free to chip in because we're here to learn. We are all open. So feel free to add if it's your question or you want to share your experience. Feel free. We are here to share knowledge and learn from each other. So yeah, Jen, you may proceed. Thanks.
Then I was saying, when
Yeah.
you already have an assumption of these risks, then we can do the threat modeling, and it's basically like you just have like a cloudy view of what's happening. So my question is like, is this when you're talking of threat modeling, see you now identify that risk, and then you identify the threats, and then you now do the threat modeling, where it's now where you look at the value. Okay, you look at the value, or you start with like looking at the value of the assets.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I got your question right, but this is how I look at it, right?
Yes.
So the first thing is because threat modeling is mainly in uh, introduction to ethical hacking, or if you want to call it vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, whatever you want to call it, it's still the same thing. But usually, the first thing to do in threat modeling is number one, you need to understand your network, your environment, and what's to have a, let me say, a visibility of your network. So, what devices do you have? Um, what's running on the networks? What's running on the ports, etc. So that's all about threat modeling. And then once you're done with that, you go now and try to identify the risk associated to your assets. So, for example, you cannot have, let's say, uh, security policies, for example, of how to protect your let me say server, while on your network you don't have a server. It does, like, literally, it doesn't make sense. So that's why it's very important for you to first of all start with threat modeling, try to identify all the assets in your network, and then once you're able to do that, you go and from a business perspective, you go and try and look at what threats are associated to those assets. And then once you're done with that, you're able to identify the threats that are associated, is when you can now implement security measures and then do the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing to find different vulnerabilities that can be, identified by either a hacker or a red teamer, whatever the case, or whatever the organization is working with. So let me just show a visual representation of that. Just give me a moment so that at least you can have an understanding of what I'm saying. This was in what is called SlideShare. Just give me a moment. I've done a lot of presentations in relation to threat modeling. So let me just try and get hold of that PPT. So please bear with me. Okay, yeah. I'm sharing my screen right now. So I hope everybody can see my screen, right? Hope you're on the same page. So as I say, there's usually two perspectives in threat modeling. So this is usually from a business perspective. So number one, an organization needs to identify its assets, right? So that will be the PCs, servers, applications, and people. And then identify what threats are there associated to those assets, and then implement security controls. That comes later on after being able to identify the threats associated to your assets. Now, I gave an example of here Bruce Wayne. So Bruce Wayne has his assets. So as Batman, so he has the Batcave, Alfred, email, and cell phones, right? And then these are the attackers that are, let me say, threats that are associated to the assets that Batman has. So that's the police, Joker, and the journalists. Now, here he needs to provide, that will be on your far right hand side, the vectors. So that would be there is low risk, medium, and high. Whatever risk is associated to that threat is the type of security control that you're going to implement. So, for example, in you'll find some organizations where they have a certain vulnerability that is present up to date, which they don't really pay much attention to it, not because they don't care, but it has no what's the right word? No real impact to the organization's asset. So they wouldn't be really losing anything even if they left it there. So once you're able to categorize, here is what Batman does and implement security controls in order to protect his assets. So, for example, if Joker was able to get access to Alfred and kill Alfred, then it will devastate Batman at a level where he cannot no longer be Batman, right? So the only way he decided to protect Alfred is number one, to protect his identity as Batman, and number two, to remove any linkage between Batman and Alfred and Bruce Wayne, and also remove the location that can help the Joker to, identify where Alfred is. So this is generally the essence of doing threat modeling. So that's from a business perspective. Now, when you move forward to an attacker's perspective, what they are looking at in general is what is the shortest route to get access to the assets, right? So, for example, if let's say an application is using the next gen firewalls, which are utilizing AI, then most likely the attacker wouldn't really go for that because it's a wastage of time. Most likely, most of the attacks will be flagged, right? The best approach that this person will use will go after the employees and use the tactic of social engineering through phishing, because that will be the easiest approach to get access into the organization's network. So basically, that's threat modeling in a nutshell. So it's a little bit more detailed compared to what I'm explaining right now, but in summary, that's what threat modeling is all about. So as I explained, number one, you just generally need to understand what assets you have, put the security controls, and then do the VAPT at the end of the day and fix whatever loopholes that you're going to find along the way. But that's generally how I look at it. Is there anybody else who has a question before we wrap up? Because time is already up. Feel free to unmute yourself, by the way. Derek, yeah. What's your question? Just unmute yourself. I'll try to answer the question as to the best of my ability. Yeah.
Building on James Wangoi's initial question,
Yeah.
clarification on information security.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah. Input your.
Is cybersecurity a component of information security? Because it seemed like you said information security is the broader than cybersecurity could be a component. Is it so?
No, for me, from my perspective, cybersecurity is the um, what is called space compared to IS. For IS, it's mainly focused on protecting the information, either from unauthorized access, from espionage, etc. You name it. It's just protecting the data, either from damage. For example, if let's say a hacker manages to take down your server, how do you protect yourself from that? So that will be for you to have backups in place, etc. But for cybersecurity, generally goes beyond that. It just doesn't deal with data itself. It goes beyond data. It goes to the people. How do you protect your people? So that's from phishing, malware, etc. How do you protect that type of asset? How do you protect your servers? How do you protect your endpoints? How do you protect your computers? How do you protect your Wi-Fi, the routers? In other words, how do you protect your organization at a physical perspective? How do you protect your organization's restricted area from access? So it covers all that. So
Okay.
that's
Okay.
cybersecurity. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Karim.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Anybody else before we end? And I don't know, should I go through once again about the platform, or is everything clear? Because I don't know.
Just give out a summary, please.
Okay, so let me just go through the platform one more time. Where is this? Yeah. I hope it's visible to everybody else. Yeah. So I guess I'm okay. Yeah. So, okay. So, number one, what I'll advise mostly is for you guys before doing anything, your best device to use will be your laptop, PC, or tablet. That's the best device to use while accessing this platform, right? So I don't know if majority of you have already registered. So I'm just assuming you've already registered. The first thing is on your left hand side, there's this icon of three people. Just click on that. That's where you create your team. So you create your team and give yourself on the team name, write your government name so that it's easier to identify who is who when providing points at the end of the day when you're done with CTF competitions, right? So you write your name if it's John Doe or Jane Doe, write your name. Once you're done with that, you come here on this flag icon, which is games. When you click on that, you'll find all the games that are available on this platform. So the one that you're supposed to go to is the Hackett Cohort 3 Labs. Once you click on it, you click on Join Game. You need to provide the password, and then you join the game. And once that's done, right now I'll go and make the challenges visible relating to GRC. You'll find all the challenges there, and it is up to you to answer the questions based on your understanding. So you'll find different categories. There's going to be number one, multiple choice, and then number two, there's going to be fill in the blanks. So it will force you a little bit to go and do some research. In total, there are 20 questions. So I'm assuming it will be something straightforward for you guys to be able to just, finish this probably before the next session. Yeah, so Alice asked about the URL. Yeah, I'll share the link once again on the group for you guys to have it with the password to access the what is called the challenges itself. But once again, try your level best to try and read the documentation because everything is well explained with some screenshots of the platform to make it easier for you guys to understand. So just take time to go through the documents that I've supplied with. Yeah, so Neville, I'll provide the password to the bootcamp once we end this session immediately. Yeah, so that's it. I don't know if I was too fast, but yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Apart from that, if you wanna, just practice, get a feel rather of other challenges, you can get here to the Cyber Conquest. You'll find a lot of challenges there for you to try and solve. Mainly, even for the labs, most of the questions will be the same way as, you can see here on the board. You can either filter them out based on categories or just view all of them all together at once. Then if you want to solve the challenge or read it, you just have to click on the, let me say, card. If you click on it, the question will pop up. You read the question, what the question wants, and then you provide the answer here. For multiple choice, you'll just have to copy paste the answer that you think is correct. And then once that's done, it will either say your answer is correct or wrong. If it's wrong, try again. I hope you're on the same page. So, okay, so let me just answer some of the questions here. Yeah, so as I said on the chat previously, the recording will be uploaded on YouTube once again. So for the people who are not able to either log in the session or they are not eligible to attend this session, then they'll have their pre-recording video on YouTube. So that's not a big problem. What else? What's the password for the CTF? Yeah, Ruth, I'll share that. Don't worry. So for the password and invitation code is the same thing. I'll share that. Yes, GRC lab will expire when. So for the GRC lab, all the labs will be there till the end of the bootcamp. Once the bootcamp has finished, everything else is done. So don't worry, all the labs will be there. Fidel asked about the podcast. I shared a link to the podcast. I'll share that again. Don't worry. Must have Linux virtual machine for the practical. For some of the topics, no. So, for example, GRC, data protection, you don't need Linux. But for web application pen test, vulnerability research, etc., those definitely you do need Linux virtual machine because all the tools that you'll need in order to succeed solving the challenges are in Kali Linux. So definitely you need to have that. Limitation of number of attempts. No, there's no limitations. You can try your level best. Yeah, there's no limitations. Any other question? If you want to ask, feel free to unmute before we end this session and yeah, call it a day. Anybody else? Yes, for Enoch, yes, you can use the subsystem. Yeah, it's no problem.
Okay, good afternoon, Karim and the rest. I have a question.
Yeah, shoot.
For example, if I want to do those CTFs are for all categories. We have web, we have a blockchain, we have networking, we have forensic. And
Yeah.
if I'm the kind of person who wants to specialize under networking, am I allowed to do only the CTFs for networking or I have to do everything?
So within for the bootcamp itself, you have to do everything because that's gonna help you get let me say points which are gonna help you either to move forward to the next round or not. Because at the end of the day, we are gonna tally everything that you've done. So that's gonna be attendance, that's gonna be your labs and the CTF competition. So in total, it's gonna be around 30%. Now, once we tally that, plus other points, accumulate it out of 100 is the marks that you're going to get. So we'll encourage you to, do all the challenges that are going to be there. So that's one. Two, I need to make you guys aware that each time that you guys log in and log off, it's being recorded by Zoom. So that's how we are taking attendance and how we're going to know if somebody has let me say missed the three classes that we mentioned earlier, or who attended, who didn't attend, and for how long. And that's also gonna affect your marks at the end of the day in the attendance category. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of that, but also don't share your links, because we provided time for people to register and they didn't. And also the links that is been sent to your account, let me say emails rather, is they are unique links, right? So basically, each link is unique to the person who received that link. So if you share it, it's still not gonna really be beneficial to the candidate who are not registered. So the most important thing is, yeah, don't share the link.
Another
Uh,
question.
yeah, okay.
In these CTS projects, are there projects that we are going to do as a group, or are they just individually?
No, they're individual projects, or let me say challenges. Any other question? So, okay, who was that? Sorry, was it Ruth?
Yes.
Awesome, yeah. So what was
And
your
if someone is stuck somewhere, are we allowed to ask from a different person, or?
it's okay to ask for directions, but not for the answer, because everything is being tracked. So if you share flags, because all the flags are going to be unique to each individual, we're going to find out at the back end, and we're going to deduct points. So don't share the flags, just give them points to, let me say, pointers to the right direction, which is going to help them to get the answers. Somebody asked about people who are running foolproof on Kali Linux. Practical, that is. So Kev, I'm not sure about your answer. You can just unmute yourself and ask it properly. I don't follow. Lorna asked about where will we get the link. So I'm not sure what link you're asking for. Is it link for the simulation? I'll share that in the group for the last time with the password to access the labs. If somebody asked about also for the links for the podcast, I'll share that too. All the seasons, because there's season 1, 2, and 3. I'll share all of them with you guys on resources. Yeah. So most of the links, etc., are going to be found under resources, the WhatsApp group of resource. So you'll get everything there. Somebody is asking, what do you mean by registration? Okay, so I initially had sent out, I think it was a day before the orientation. I had sent out a link for people to register to the Zoom session, where you entered your first name, last name, email, and accepted the data protection, right? Now, all that is being recorded by Zoom, which is going to help us to track your attendance. So now, when we say registration, it was just basically the process of registering yourself so that you could get your unique link for the session. So everybody who is here who attended this session has their own unique link which they got, which is going to help us to track their attendance, whether they attended or not. So basically, that's what I meant rather when I said registration. Are we supposed to finish each CTF before the next meetup? Not really. You can keep it till the end if you want, but it's going to be a lot of workload on your side. The earlier you finish the labs, the better. But if you decide to keep them till the end, probably you don't want to do GRC yet. You want till you get to, let's say, vulnerability research. That's up to you. The choice is yours. You're a free bird to do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it's going to be your marks that's going to get affected. Yeah, if you don't finish the challenges, that is. Bethwell, sorry if I butchered your name. You raised your hand. Yeah, what's up? Just unmute yourself.
So I had a question
Yeah,
concerning
sure.
the evaluation process that we'll go through during the end of the bootcamp, let's say.
Awesome.
So I saw in the document here it says that there'll be 10 finalists
Yeah,
in the first round, and then in the second round there'll be only like five finalists, yes?
yeah, 5 winners. Yeah,
5 winners.
yeah,
And then it says yeah, the top three overall mentees and the top two female mentees will be announced.
yeah.
Now, let's say, will this top three mentees, like, are they separate male and female, or are these two female positions already secured? Or let's say if there were five male participants who are the best, and maybe let's say they were the best out of the bunch, and must these two other positions, are they held just by gender? Or I was wondering about that.
Oh, okay. So, number one, for the top 3 winners, so that's just general, right? So if all of them are gonna be males or men, in other word, that's fine. uh, you've won fair and square, right? But for the 2 position, which is women winners, that one is strictly for ladies, because we are trying our level best to empower women, and have a little bit more of women cybersecurity experts in the industry. Some of them tend to get ignored along the way. Others tend to give up. Now, that's through past experience. Now, in order to try and motivate the ladies to keep on pushing and try their level best to, get to their excellence, we decided to have at least those 2 slots for the ladies, so that they can do their level best. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. But for the top 3, it's for everybody. It doesn't matter who's going to get there. It is what it is. Yeah. Cheers. Anybody else who has a question? Feel free to unmute yourself. No need of even raising your hand.
I have another question about reports.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
So you say that we are supposed to write reports, and are these reports written based on the CTFs, the challenges you tackled, and how you tackled them, or?
Yes, it's going to be based on the CTF. So what we're going to do is some of the, what's the right word? Some of the categories within the labs are not going to have hands-on practicals, so they're just going to be theory. So that's GRC, DP, for example, cloud, etc. Those are going to be purely theory, but others are going to be practical, where you're supposed to hack and get the flags, etc. So that would be like vulnerability research. I've forgotten the other topics. What else? I think there's pen test, I think, if not mistaken. But yeah, you get the point. Now, even for the CTF competition itself, there are going to be different categories. There's going to be web, there's going to be forensics, there's going to be data protection, etc. So you'll have to only focus on those which have the practical bit. So like forensics, the vulnerability research, web app pen tests, yeah, those categories. You're just gonna write a report on how you solved the challenges to arrive to getting the flag, and then that's what's going to be used to the mentors are going to use to judge you whether you followed the rules of writing a report. Was it consistent? Did it make sense? And things like that. So that's how it's
So
going to
is
work.
there a guide on how to write those reports, or we just write a report how it's supposed to be written?
So there's going to be a session of report writing. So you're going to be taught everything there. So don't worry. Any other question? Feel free to ask anything, even if something has not yet happened. It's something of the future. Yeah, feel free to ask before we end the session and get back to the group and, start asking the same questions all over again. Yeah. Who's that?
Excuse
Sorry.
me, Mr. Karim.
Yeah, Caleb. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, I have a question concerning the certificates.
Awesome. Yeah.
So let's say, God forbid, I don't end up being in the top 10.
Yeah.
Will I still get a certificate? And will the certificate, can I still get a job with it?
Great question. So, number one, yes, definitely you'll get the certificate, certificate of participation. So everybody's going to get that. So that's only the people who have registered, mind you, because the people who didn't register and wouldn't be able to attend the live sessions. So those ones wouldn't get the certificates. They have already been disqualified because, as I mentioned earlier, we're looking to work with serious people. It can't be a one-way traffic. There are others who were inboxing me on, I think on when was that? On Wednesday, Thursday this week. That's I don't know how many days too late when you've received your emails for getting into the session. It was around the 29th of last month. So that really shows us that you're not serious. So that's why we did, or we are approaching this bootcamp the way we are approaching it. We want to work with people who really want to learn and who are serious. It can never be a one-way traffic. So definitely you'll get your certificate uh, as long as you haven't missed the 3 sessions. So that's also very important. But for the top 3 winners, no, sorry, not three, top 5 winners generally. So for the women and the 3 general winners, they'll get extra certificates for based on the position that they attained. Say either if it's first runner-up, second runner-up, third runner-up, etc. So for them, they'll have 2 certificates, but you guys will get 1 certificate. About the job, yes, you can still put it on your CV that you participated in Hackett Bootcamp. This is what you learned. You can also add it as experience because what you're getting here is experience. So you can just put it under part of your relevant experience section in your CV. Bootcamp, and then what you learned along the way. You can include tools, the courses that you've gone through, etc. So yeah, definitely you can still use it. Any other question? Though let me just put a disclaimer. Mind you, it's not internationally recognized, but it's gonna at least show the employer that you're what's the right word? You're learning and growing within the industry, and you're gaining the skills and the experience. So, for example, people who are participating in CTFs, most of them will be considered for job roles compared to people who just have a degree on their side. So, also, you guys, it's gonna be an added advantage to you guys because a lot of people are graduating nowadays, right? So, what's the differentiator factor between you and your fellow candidates? So that is for if you're still in uni. So mainly that's the best answer I can give you with the certificates and employment opportunity. Yeah. Anybody else before we call it a day?
Hello, hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Ruben.
Okay, so a random question. I was literally working on some home lab or kind of firewall issue. Then
Okay.
I had this question. When you deal with I was dealing with OPN sense firewall, does it mean when I just be more proficient with it, will I be okay with any other kind of firewall, or will I have to now go and learn about the others?
Sorry, can you please repeat your question, Ruben? I didn't get it. So you're doing what? You're learning about firewalls? If is that
Yes,
correct?
firewalls, some home
Okay.
lab. I'm doing some home lab kind
Oh,
of shit.
awesome. Yeah.
So I was asking if I today I do a home lab with OPN sense firewall.
Okay.
Will I have a problem when I go to the industry and then meet another type of firewall? Will I have like compatibility issues, or what will be the will I be okay?
Okay, not compatibility issues per se, but the way what's the right word? So each vendor has a different way of doing its product, or the way they've produced their product. It has different functionalities, etc. So it's the same way how you interact with Windows is certainly going to be different. How you interact with Linux, how you interact with iOS, etc. Let me say the Macs, how you interact with the Macs, etc. So you'll definitely need to learn the ins and outs of the other firewall and how they work. What are the rules? How do you configure the rules? How do you interact with the firewall, etc. So yeah, definitely you'll have to relearn again, but the base concepts will still be the same.
Okay, since you have dealt with you have been in the industry, which type of firewall will you recommend one to start with?
Okay, so so that's a very specific question. So for me, I haven't really worked with let me say specific firewalls or vendor firewalls. For me, mainly what I do as a profession is the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing mainly. Apart from that, I do digital forensics, and then I do also different sorts of training. So that would be either technical or non-technical training, awareness. So my experience is in those spaces, but not firewalls per se. So I don't want to mislead you or lie to you. I can't really answer that question, which one is the best. But what I can say is what you can try to look for. I've forgotten the name per se of the firewall. There are those common firewalls which you'll meet in each organization. Let me just see if I can get one. I've forgotten the name. It has slipped my head. Just a moment, please. So also when it comes to firewalls, there are different type of firewalls. So there's the WAF, there's the network firewalls, etc. So for example, one of the common one is Cloudflare. So that one's for the WAF. You should learn that because majority of organizations tend to go for Cloudflare. Apart from Cloudflare, there is one I've forgotten its name. I think it's for Microsoft. I'm not sure, but I'll have to find out what the name. So I think the best way is for you to inbox me on WhatsApp. Just DM me so that I can try and remember the other name. But Cloudflare is one of the most used firewall currently. Any other question, guys, before we leave?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Caleb. What's up?
Okay, we live in a world of an infinite number of possibilities.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
my question is, what if the top 10 end up being males? How will you go about that?
No. So what we do is, first of all, we check out the top, uh, let me say, 5 candidates. So it doesn't matter if it's a male or female. We just select the top 5, and then the other 5 we try and look at the best women performers. So it's gonna be an equal opportunity for all to move to the next round. Hope that makes sense. Um, yeah. And also the other WAF that a lot of organizations use is WordFence. So there's those two, Cloudflare and WordFence. Yeah, so I'm done with the WAF question. I mean the firewall questions. Let me just say that. Somebody just asked. So that's Precious. Will there be support for beginners? Don't even know what Linux is. Yeah. So Precious. Yeah. There is support, But once again, it's good to try. Google is your friend. These YouTube sessions, I think I've shared a lot of materials relating to Kali Linux. For example, some were from Hackersploit. He talks about Kali Linux, different commands, etc. But if you feel that it's not enough, feel free to just text me on my inbox, and then I'll find ways to assist you with how to, play around with Kali Linux. So yeah, definitely you'll get support for that.
Excuse me.
Yep. Is it
Yes, I
positive?
wanted just to add on what Robin was asking about having a specific, let's say, firewall, or let's say these devices. And just as you have said, I also advise him that he just know what the operation of the device is. Let's say even when we talk about firewall, when I was learning about firewall, I learned with the Huawei firewalls. And when I went now to the job market, I was now
Yeah.
meeting a quite different firewall that's Checkpoint, and also the 40 gate firewall. But
Yes.
having had the basic of what the firewall does and the how the firewall is built, now it becomes easier because you have the basic of how it operates. So even learning furthermore into it becomes quite much easier. Yeah, so he should just
Definitely.
know what a specific device does and how the configurations are done. And he will now be having confidence to deal with any other product from a different person. When you check on Cisco devices and also Huawei devices, you'll find that the configs are a little bit different. But after knowing the in-depth, having the in-depth knowledge, you know that they are different, but the operation, after then knowing the operation, it becomes really easy to master all that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the input, and very well explained. So yeah, basically, that's the essence. You just need to have the base knowledge when it comes to all these products. So for example, I did a little bit of a Google search. So one of the most famous one I've interacted with, even I personally, is Sophos and Fortinet. Most organizations will use that as a firewall, either if it's at a software level or at a hardware level. Most of them will use those products, but I've seen others of PF Sense, which you've mentioned, and also WatchGuard. So I think you can note them down if you want to play around with all those different type of firewalls on your own. But yeah, generally that's it. You just need to have the basic understanding of how they work, what do they do, some of the rules that you can configure, and then that's it. You're set, I think. Yeah. So thank you for the addition. For Steve, sorry if I've butchered your name. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Anybody else? Okay, so I guess that's it, guys. Thank you very much for attending the GRC session. Soon I'm gonna release the labs. I'm gonna update you on the announcement group. So you just be on a lookout for that. Once everything is ready, you guys can now start playing around with the labs and the assignments. And yeah, feel free to also shoot any questions that you have under support, something that you don't understand. Uh, and yeah, so I can see Kev has a hand raised. Is that correct, Kev?
Yes, hello.
Okay,
Hello.
awesome. Yeah, what's up?
So I was asking for the practicals. Someone
Yeah,
suggested about the virtual machines. So my
okay.
question was that what if you are running foolproof on Kali Linux? Are you expected to have the virtual machine as well?
Oh, okay, makes sense. Well, the answer is no, because you already have the minimum requirement, which is Kali. So the people who are supposed to run the virtual machines are the people who don't have Kali Linux, don't want to partition their operating system, or okay, not operating system, sorry, the hard drive, because you can have dual boot on your hard drive where a single partition is running Windows, the other partition is running Kali Linux. But if you have full blown Kali on your machine, no, there's no need of having a virtual machine on your PC. This is strictly for Windows people.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Cheers. Anybody else who needs some clarity before I stop the recording and just end everything?
Hello.
Yeah. Mark,
Yes.
shoot your question.
What if you're using live in the USB Linux Kali Linux live?
Yeah, if you're using that one, yeah, okay, it's also fine. It's up to you because at the end of the day, what you're looking at is for you to solve the challenges. But as I mentioned initially, that right now GRC and then next session will be on DP, so that's data protection, which will be on Monday. They literally don't need any Kali Linux for you to solve the labs. Most of the questions are just fill in the blanks, multiple choice. So at least you have that leeway as of now. But once you start getting into web app pen tests and is it vulnerability research and the likes, then definitely you'll need Kali Linux.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Cheers. Anybody else who needs clarity? Okay, awesome. So guys, thank you very much once again. I guess we are done for the day. Yeah, we've gone even way beyond our end time, but thank you very much for everybody who managed to stay till the end of the session. And this is how the sessions are going to be conducted. So for the for the live session, you're going to come here, the mentors are going to just give a recap, and then you guys are going to ask all the questions that you have or you want to ask, either if it's within or outside the domain of DP. I'm sure some of the mentors will be happy to give uh, a good answer on your question. So thank you very much, and see you on the next session, and see you on the WhatsApp.